think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
Rosebud, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Hello and welcome to the Video Lineup Podcast. Welcome. This is Nick and I am Thomas, and we are up to episode 5? I
thought it was 4. Yeah.
7? Episode 11? Yeah. We have spun the couch around and you can see my computer behind us. So hope you like.
So neat, Thomas.
Yeah, it's just like that. As we rolled the cameras up, I didn't even have to spend ages tidying it or anything.
Nice.
Today we are doing Gone with the Wind. How you feeling?
A little bit apprehensive. It's a big film. It's a long film.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of emotions that came out, I think, while watching it, which we'll go into later.
We'll get deep under the psychiatrist's couch here and process our feelings about history and
Lots of feelings.
Yeah. Gone with the Wind. Okay, so let's get a synopsis from ChatGPT.
Yes, we've decided that's what we're going to do each week. Get ChatGPT to give us a reasonably short synopsis. So it says, Gone with the Wind, directed by Victor Fleming and released in 1939, is a sweeping historical drama set against the backdrop of the American Civil War and Reconstruction era. The film revolves around the tempestuous and captivating Southern Belle, that's right?
Southern Belle, yeah.
Yeah, Scarlett O'Hara, played by Vivian Leigh, who fiercely navigates through love, loss and survival. As the war rages on, Scarlett finds herself entangled in a love triangle with the dashing Rhett Butler, portrayed by Clark Gable, and her lifelong friend Ashley Wilkes, played by Leslie Howard. Amidst the turmoil of war and societal upheaval, Scarlett's indomitable spirit and resilience drive the narrative, making Gone with the Wind a timeless classic filled with romance, tragedy, and unforgettable performances. Would you agree with that? Unforgettable performance?
Yes, I would agree. Yeah. Unforgettable. Yeah. I'm not going to forget Rhett Butler. I think Scarlett O'Hara, as despicable as the character is, I think I'm going to say the performances, not all of them, will stay, but I do think the Scarlett O'Hara performance is really good. And I do think the Rhett Butler performance is really good. And I think there's a lot of supporting characters. Well, I mean, the lady, is it Mammy?
Oh, yeah.
She won an Oscar.
Yeah.
I think she was the first black person to win an Oscar, maybe. Should probably know that fact. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Sorry, I was just filling my water bottle up while you were reading. ChatGPT is quite verbose with it's a 4-hour movie, so.
Yeah, I just found some of the, some of the way they communicate and act is so over the top and harsh. It's like, it was quite the guy who plays. Quite shocking to me. And I was just like,
Well, this is a good contrast to last week's episode where we were watching Brando. Yeah. Who, as far as my limited knowledge of acting history goes, was primarily responsible. I think he was Stella something. She was an acting teacher anyway, and pushed this realism in acting, something people hadn't seen before. Before it was like, coming closer for a close-up, honey. It's bad. What's a line? I'm trying to think of a line. It was much more theatrical, I guess. Like you were. It wasn't a bad thing that you could be seen acting.
Do you know if they worried about the recording of the voices? Like they felt like they had to yell to make sure they got the recording.
Well, they wouldn't have had a stronger technology and things to record, quiet moments. It was like a mono track audio or whatever. It didn't have the same. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to. Those were high, it didn't have high fidelity audio like that John Cusack movie. I thought they were pretty good though, considering that they weren't campy or anything. I would say the performances in Citizen Kane felt a little more odd, because they had come straight from the theatre, a bunch of those people.
But for some reason I enjoyed that a lot more. Maybe it's not offensive. The Southern drawl and
I like the Southern drawl.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Let's go straight in. I mean, we're not going to go into the themes movie, but I didn't like many people in this movie.
No, there's normally a character you're drawn to that you're rooting for. But I thought someone was going to change over the 4-hour span of the movie, and that I'd grow to like them as a character, but there wasn't really.
No. And I don't think you could not for all of the connotations to awful. Let's just put, several minutes into the podcast. We're not pro-slavery. We are against slavery. We're against it. It's evil. All this stuff's bad. But just in terms of the type of movie, if you just take all of that away, you wouldn't see this movie. It'd be hard to see The Godfather be made today. But The Godfather could be made today. We're talking about financial implications.
Yeah.
That if they got the money together, they could make it, or it might be made as a TV series. It could be. I can't see Gone with the Wind being made. Even if you take away all of the, Civil War, slavery, all those different elements, you take it away and don't make that part of the decision making, because Scarlett O'Hara doesn't change.
No.
And we don't watch movies where people don't change, even if they change in a way that I think sucks for cinema now. But all of our characters have to go on a journey and somehow change. The closest comparison to a character not really changing that I can think about is Marty McFly in Back to the Future. He essentially stays exactly the same, and everyone around him changes.
Yeah.
If you think about his character journey, it's kind of an odd thing. But Scarlett O'Hara, everyone around her is changing, but she does. I mean,
they tried to paint the picture of her growing and maturing as a woman from I think she was 16 or something at the start.
Yeah.
And then going through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like she'd matured.
Well, let's talk about the first half of the movie, because this is what, 4? Is it 4 over 4 hours?
Just under 4.
Just under 4.
It was long. I watched it almost twice.
Yeah. No, I couldn't put myself through it again. I think the first half, firstly, this movie is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is stunning. There is stuff that looks like, I don't know how they shot it, but the silhouette stuff at Tara. There's stuff that's there, and the father when he embraces her in the sunset over the, over the house, and you see it all, the plantation and all, it is objectively, is it the word when you're not looking at your own personal perspective, it's just based on the facts, or is that, no, it's objectively. Yeah. Subjectively is when it's just my perspective. Okay. We're learning the English language here. Objectively beautiful. It's so beautiful. There's even all the costumes and the way it's lit and the homes and the way people are staged. There's that moment where she's got all the suitors hanging around her while she sits. Is she eating something or whatever? It's an outdoor garden party towards the beginning.
Yeah.
It just looks like a painting.
Yeah.
It looks how you'd stage people in some sort of...
Sometimes it was a painting, wasn't it? Some of the...
Yeah, well, they would have a lot of painted backdrops.
So do you know much about whether it was on set most of the time? Or
I don't know. I didn't, to be honest, this movie exhausted me so much that I had no interest in learning anything more about it than I had to. So it is a really beautiful movie, but after 4 hours and a despicable main character who I really... I'm not one for tragedy porn. I really didn't like these books and things would come out where, the main character is diagnosed with cancer and they're slowly dying, and then their dog gets hit by a car and they have to suffer through this and suffer through that, and somehow we touch on the realness of humanity. Ugh, yuck.
Yeah.
There's birthday parties in real life.
Yeah.
Someone's dog gets hit by a car and then someone else, makes a delicious chocolate cake and shares it with friends on a Friday night. Then there's a barbecue and then someone else is sent to war. It's ups and downs.
Yeah.
All this stuff is just like tragedy on tragedy on tragedy. Ugh. Yuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know why I was saying that, because things just keep getting crap for them in this movie.
We go through the movie, she ends up with 3 marriages, and you feel like she's repeating the same mistakes, and it's like...
Yeah. Yeah, if you take the first, number one thing, okay, we didn't see this in Godfather, even though it was really long. we're going to see this next week in Lawrence of Arabia, films with intermissions. Bring them back. Put an intermission in your movies. I know all the Hollywood executives that listen to our banter. Yeah. If you want to make a long movie, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just think of all of the concessions. Is that when they call them food and popcorn and all that sort of stuff? You will buy concessions. And as long as people, if it says you stay till halfway point intermission, you can't get your money back. Cool. What do you care? You know, I think they want to do more showings of the movie, but make the tickets a lot more expensive by $5 or $6. People paying, these intermissions are great.
Well, I went to Harry Potter at the theatre, which is live acting, but they've now shortened it, but it used to be 2 sections and there's an intermission in between, and it was a fantastic day with the kids, like a real experience. And I think movies have probably just gone back to cheap entertainment a little bit, where you just go, it's a quick.
Well, I think you'd have to say we can only have 2 or 3 showings of this movie in a day, which we're going to get onto the financial implications of this movie. But I mean, with that fewer showings and this length, based on adjusted for inflation, this movie is still the highest grossing movie of all time. According to my Googling, $3.44 billion. So more than Avengers Endgame. And that's another long movie.
Yeah.
You know, but I think what I'm getting at with the intermission is that the first half of this movie, I'm on. I'm there. I didn't necessarily like her. Yeah. I didn't quite understand the social dynamics of what's going on. Obviously, she's not a 16-year-old girl. It's 2023. If a character is 16 years old in a movie, typically, at least they look really 16. Yeah. You know, maybe for back then in the South, whatever, she did look 16. But I kind of felt like even though they put her in older women's clothes, it was still a 20-something-year-old actress, and I knew that from the word go. But yeah, I kind of got the idea, okay, so these aren't teenagers, but I guess they're teenagers. You get this, you go all the way through, everything's beautiful, and you kind of plonked down in exactly what it seems like the movie isn't the central theme, but it's what it's giving you something to go, oh, you know, aside from the fact there's all these people enslaved over there doing all this stuff where this is the golden times, you know, happy music. And these particular people, this is happiness for them. And I think it's saying a lot that watching it, you go, I don't like any of them.
Well, that's the quote at the start of the movie. It talks about how the life of like knights and dames has become basically a memory, and it romanticizes that as these heroic people who are to be admired. And I really struggled to understand the mindset.
Well, I guess, okay, so just to finish that last point, the first half of the movie, she goes on this big journey, there's all this tragedy that happens, the Civil War happens, all these people go off, blah, 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 and then it ends and she's come back to Tara, and another beautiful shot, like just the way they shot this movie, it was so dramatic. And I think even it felt like you're going to the gallery to see these paintings. I can see why people would, in 1939, when they're not exposed, they don't have as much exposure to beautiful imagery unless you have paintings and stuff hanging in you. This is some of the most beautiful imagery you'll see. Definitely better than most of what you see in Hollywood now, where you've got a shot and they hold the shot. These scenes are epic too, you know, like they light Atlanta's burning. Yeah. As they're leaving. And it's really on fire. Like,
That's a massive fire.
It's a freaking huge fire. You know, this is an epic movie. So I think that first half of the movie where I still held out hope that Scarlett is going to change and that good things, maybe she's going to end up with this Rhett Butler. He's a cad or whatever. And there's always still holding out hope. So I'm sort of like, you know, and that caused me to really love the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
I loved it. The second half of the movie, it's sort of a bit. But
actually, I think it was in a trivia thing where I don't know if they changed directors or screenwriter or something.
Yes, they did.
And that's why the second...
Is it King Vidor or something?
I'm not sure.
Come on, Nick. I'm adjusting my microphone stand. Surely you know the name of the...
No, I don't.
Director. I don't know why my mic stand adjustment would have anything to do with that. But all right, I'm going to Google it. I'm going to Google it right now because I know that it ends up being Victor Fleming, who also got the credit for directing.
Yeah, well, whoever it was.
Wizard of Oz.
Excluded.
Yeah, he was kicked out.
Yeah.
And I think he was really nice to Scarlett O'Hara. Her name, that chick, yeah. Anyway, he was really nice to, here we go, cast. It's starting with people, Vivian Lee.
Yes.
That's a cool name, isn't it? I don't think I pictured her when I thought of Vivian Lee. I don't know, when I was thinking about, you hear the name, all these older actors, actresses' names. Yeah. I didn't picture her. I don't know why. She sort of seems skinny and I thought of some sort of buxom, dark, what are they, film noir.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe I'm thinking of Barbara Stanwyck or someone like that.
Oh, just
Who's Barbara Stanwyck? Well, I don't know if Double Indemnity or something is on our list, so it should be. Anyway, so what were you saying? The themes of the movie? We're going into the themes. Are we delving in there? Shall I look at our list of things we talk? Is anyone still with us?
Probably not. We're rambling. No, I was just at the start of the movie. They were romanticizing this idea of knights and dames, and this idea of having slaves was almost a virtuous thing. It's kind of like they were the savior of the slaves. They didn't know any better, so they'd take them in and look after them and be these.
Are you reading that into the movie, or is that really in the thing?
I took a screenshot.
Yeah. So what is the actual the quote? I'm looking for it here.
I'll bring it up
because I have a different reading of that. I immediately
okay. So there was a land of cavaliers and cotton fields called the Old South. Here in this pretty world, gallantry took its last bow. Here was the last ever to be seen of knights and their ladies fair, of master and slave. Look for it only in books, for it is no more than a dream remembered, a civilization gone with the wind. Mm-hmm. And I could be reading into it, but that's. I'm sharing my feelings. This idea, and there were different moments throughout the movie where the way they talk about their slaves, it's like they had this real attitude of, we treat them fairly, so we're giving them a good life, because
like animals.
They wouldn't have it otherwise.
Yeah, it's gross.
So, and they kind of painted this picture of the blacks in the north were almost corrupted by, like, when they were given their freedom, they became corrupted and evil. Yeah. So
it's really such a loaded subject.
Yeah.
that it's like you can't say enough how disgusting it is. And at the same time, she's a disgusting person.
Yeah.
Forget slavery. Take slavery out of it. Everything she does is so self-serving and at the expense of everyone around her. She doesn't care if it's a slave or not. And it feels to me like it almost never existed, this perfect society, and it's not like they're saying this is the way we should be. I don't know what, because Margaret Mitchell or something, I feel like there is so much in this movie, and there's probably much more in the book. I have to, I'm not going to criticize the actual story, but what I got out of it was, I didn't see anyone I really thought was good. Ashley's not good.
No.
What's that video I sent you? We'll attach a video in the description that is the best summary of this movie ever. Ashley's such a loser.
Yeah.
He's such a pathetic dum-dum, and he can see good things. He can see things, but it's like he's just so, and he's marrying his cousin. This is just.
What was her name? Like, completely forgotten. But she seems to be the most virtuous.
But she's blind as a bat. Yes. See, so you can say, she's got a good heart. She's got a good heart. She's going to get shot in the head by like her best friend as soon as
she's trying.
She's trying, but she seems like the sort of person that could be Like you go, yeah, okay. There's the best character in the whole movie is that woman,
best white character. I'll say,
yeah. I'd say the Mammy. Is it Mammy, or am I pulling that from another movie? Because I've forgotten all these characters' names. Is it? It's not Sue Ellen. It's not Sue Ellen. It's yeah, it is Mammy. Hattie McDaniel. Mammy. I was right. Yeah. Victor Everett Brown. Who is it? It's India. Ashley Wilkes is Leslie Howard. Olivia de Havilland, that's the actress, as Melanie.
Melanie, that's the one.
Yeah, okay. So Olivia de Havilland, yeah, her, and I'd say Hattie McDaniel as Mammy, well-deserved that Oscar. She's fantastic. She gives some serious sass. Okay, let's just be honest. She's the smartest character in the whole movie. Her and I think Hattie McDaniel and Rhett Butler, they're the two best, like smartest characters in the movie.
Yeah.
Who are the most virtuous characters in the movie? The prostitute.
Yeah.
Like this is a messed up society, right? We're looking at. So you kind of have to just say, this is, I can't sort of reconcile it all.
I watched a video sort of analysing it, and they were thinking the director was actually anti-slavery and was trying to portray it as honestly as he could, showing the South for all its warts and because you get that at times. You're like, Mammy, she sees what's going on.
Yeah,
but then she seems to be favourable to the Confederacy and that way of life.
I think it's funny that we know that there were house slaves and there were field slaves or whatever.
Yeah, and
people like Tarantino put in their movies whatever. Samuel L. Jackson plays the house slave who's like Django Unchained's like enemy, you know, because he's trying to just, so there could be an element of that. I mean, I don't really know. I don't feel like I'm trying to watch a documentary on this. This is where it sort of boils back for me is like I can't reconcile, this is evil, right? The closest thing I could think of that I would have a really hard time, and I can understand why some people might just have excruciatingly painful time even watching the story of a human being in this era benefiting from this bad system, would be if I saw some movie, which probably exists out there, that was, you know, in Nazi Germany time and doesn't, just sort of glosses over all of the Jews that are in the camps and all, just glosses all over that. And just sees the suffering and the ups and downs of this one person as they fall in love, but also I think that would be really hard to divorce those two things as two concepts of what was happening in the movie and the person they focused on and the setting.
So you like a romantic movie about Hitler and his partner or something, just gloss over.
It wouldn't, even if it's not Hitler, it's just some, German lady who's like Scarlett O'Hara, who's benefited from all of these things. They've taken all this riches off the Jews and they've given it to her. That's as gross as this is, right? Only that we're about as far removed. So that's the 40s to 20. So that's 80 years ago. This is 1939, so 1940. So 1860. So almost exactly the same gap.
Yeah.
Whereas far removed, but it's close enough of a memory that's not even my personal experience, but it's personal. Like my grandparents fought in World War II. So there's a close enough connection that I've got some sort of like reaction when I hear about these things.
Yeah.
Whereas slavery, unless I think it's 100 and something, how long ago was this movie? 160 years ago? This is set 160 years ago?
I think it was 1860.
1860, yeah. So like it's so far from right now that you almost have to translate it like that to try and go, okay, what sort of experience could some people who were closer to it have? And then I would sort of say, this isn't a good movie. It's not like that anyone is celebrated. No. Every character, with the exception of the prostitute, who really is like her lifestyle is not necessarily saying, hey, this is a good person. Like she's the mother or the madam of a whorehouse.
Yeah.
I'm not being crass. That's just what they're called, aren't they? And then the Mammy character.
Hoochie House.
Hoochie House. But the main character who if we just zoom out, I'm rambling a little bit because I'm struggling because it feels like I've got to watch my words with this. I'll be honest, pisses me off. I feel like I'm going to be really careful about how I search for the right words with this because of the context of this movie. The whole thing's despicable, but Scarlett O'Hara and it is her story. Yep. She's the main character of this movie. And unless you're willing to go on a ride and see her journey, don't watch this movie and get upset about the content, because you will get upset about it. Don't watch it. It's not worth it. There's plenty of other movies out there. But if you do watch it, you probably will enjoy it more if you just accept the fact that Scarlett O'Hara is despicable.
Yes.
The Olivia de Havilland's character is a warm, lovely person. But you know, there's people in life that are warm and lovely, and just complete human atrocities could be happening right next door.
Yep.
And they might even hear the screams and they just go, oh, aren't they having a lovely party? That level of idiotic stuff that they're actually bad for society. So she's terrible. Ashley is what the heck is she seeing this Ashley dude? He's a loser. That was the hardest suspension of disbelief for me to.
But you've got to say, out of all the men, you know, there's a scene where they were discussing about the possibility of war.
Yep.
And he seems to be one of the kind of like your model figure of what's the ultimate man in the South.
Yeah. I think that's probably what they're trying to do, but it just doesn't land for me. It feels like it doesn't translate. I think he's an idiot. Yeah. But at the same time, you're right. He is. I mean, the character's an idiot, or how it's shown. He's just so pathetic.
Well, just trying to understand, because from what I understood, they went to war to fight for their way of life, which was, you know, having slaves, basically. And then later on in the movie, he mentions that he was going to release the slaves once his father had died. So it's like, what? Yeah. Why? Yeah. Take all these young men to war for them to die and over something you're...
Well, it touches, if we get even deeper on themes, it touches on like the power of an institution that you feel like you're stuck in. He's a fictional character. So it's not really relevant whether or not that's true if he would have done that, because he's a fictional character. Fictional character says he was going to do it.
Yep.
So I believe it. All right. I believe that at some point, there was maybe one person. What is it in the Bible? Abraham just keeps begging his God. It's just, if there's even one good person in that town, please don't spare it. I think there's probably one person who thought, oh, maybe we shouldn't be having these slaves down in the South. And I bet you that the institution of slavery and institution of all these wealthy people drowned them out. Like Ashley is drowned out by these idiots excited to go to war, who are just hopped up on testosterone and arrogant and that they just drowned out. And that's a sort of a theme we could probably pull out of it, a lesson. If you're pulling lessons out of movies, that sometimes there are people who are speaking truth to, when you're stuck in an institution or a culture that accepts something, it's so easy to say, hey, way back then, 160 years ago, this bad institution that we can now jump up and down and smarmy say, hey, look, that's bad. Yeah. Well, examine yourself right now and say, like, what is the thing I can't say right now that I'm not allowed to speak out against, that I can't make a film about, or where, you know, what are those things that we've got to be careful about, because that's what that shows that Rhett Butler tries to speak, and he's got experience.
Yeah.
He's coming in here, and even the guys know that he's a figure of some respect. I mean, the few of the people who know him know that he's had some experiences, and the rest of them are dumb young idiots who know nothing, which is a perfect parallel to right now. A lot of people open their mouths about stuff and they got no experience about anything to do with tragedy and suffering. And we don't listen to them.
It's interesting. You can look back and watch this movie and judge them and say, oh, we've come so far. But you step back and look at society and like, oh, maybe we haven't.
Maybe we haven't. And maybe that's what we need to, you can't, there was a bit of a push with this movie to stop it. You know, like I think it was taken off some streaming services. That's just I understand. Like, if there was a movie that someone it's not like it's a 15-minute short. You know, if it's 15 minutes short, millions of people are going to watch it and maybe watch it twice or three times and start to understand what really this is about and why we shouldn't do that. It's really hard to digest. I don't want to watch it again for a long time. Yeah. But I know I will again, because I really liked the first half of it. I might not watch the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it was shorter, we'd all have digested it and lots of discussion could happen. But it's so long that to watch it and really understand and really have a nuanced view on its relevance and what it's really saying is extraordinarily difficult for a large population to have.
Yeah.
So therefore, the discussion is going to be about what people think it's about, or even worse, what people feel like it's about, because you don't even have to read the Wikipedia synopsis to have a feeling about what you think this movie is about. Someone said slavery and two white people kissing on the front cover. I'm going to hate that movie. But that's not what it's about. And you see this journey where this woman goes through 3 men. Her marriages are despicable.
Yeah.
Her actions.
None of them are for love.
None of them are for love. It's really, there's a lesson in it about, like, I was watching it. I'm doing a lot of Bible references now, but, you know, what does it say? You can only have serve God or mammon, money.
Yeah.
You know, essentially she marries for money.
Yeah.
At least 2 of them. Oh, we've just lost a light in the background. There we go. No more green. Yeah. What's the first she marries? Her cousin? Or
it's
her
Ashley's brother or cousin, I think it was.
Yeah. And it's a bit of I love you, Miss O'Hara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, this is what, as well, I'm watching the movie, I'm trying to piece everything together to understand these characters, because they're claiming they're Christians and sort of upright and moral people, but then they have slaves and they believe that's okay. And then they have these marriages which aren't out of love, and they're quite happy to try and break up marriages. Or Scarlett seemed to be quite happy to break up her friend's marriage.
That's what I mean. She's despicable. Should we go through the second half of the movie a bit? Because I feel like she marries her cousin, Ashley's cousin.
Yeah. He dies at war.
He dies at war.
She was devastated.
She's devastated that she has to pretend to be sad. Oh, how long do I have to pretend to be sad like this? I want to go dance like everyone else.
Yeah.
See, she's despicable from the outset. She's disgusting. If you grab 15 minutes of this movie and wrote down the things that Scarlett O'Hara says and does, and then you just said, hey, I know this person who, and then read that list, you would guarantee describe the worst person that any of us have probably, like, I don't know a single person that utters, and I'm not talking about the slavery thing. You could take that entirely off the table because it immediately washes the whole thing. And like, these people are deluded. This is not a good ideal system. It doesn't, you just take her selfishness of those people around her who she pretends to love.
Well, she doesn't love anyone.
No, she loves herself.
Her second marriage is with someone who her sister.
She steals her sister's boyfriend.
Wanted to marry.
Yeah. So the thing is, I guess she's that video. We're going to reference this video, and I'm definitely putting in the description. She's the hoochie mama. Is that the thing? It's so. It was in the movie finishes, and she has lost everything. Atlanta has burned. Her friend Olivia de Havilland, whose character name I forgot,
has died.
No, she lived because she had the baby.
That's fine.
She dies in the end, though.
Yeah.
Dumbledore dies. Spoiler alert. And so they go on the ride of this horrible ride from Atlanta, Georgia, back to Tara, which is somewhere else in the south. And she gets there and the whole place has been destroyed basically, and there's no food. And then she finds like a measly old carrot or something and and then declares that she's going to rebuild.
And she says, if I have to lie, cheat or steal,
it's like, well, she done anything.
Do it.
She's like, I will just continue to lie, cheat and steal through my whole life, which is basically what she's done. And then and then the movie picks up in the second half, and she immediately goes about finding out how she can get this money by any means possible.
So she marries, her sister's.
Yeah, prior to that, she tries to hook up with Rhett Butler and see if she can get some cash out of him, but he's been arrested and he can't get to his money. So you go, okay.
Yep.
And then she marries this guy who runs this sawmill. Is Ashley involved? He gets involved with the business too?
She, manipulates the situation to get him down there, and then basically runs it off the back of convicts because they're cheaper than what they call darkies. And I was just like, what the?
Yeah. And I think horrible. This is it. Every time you're watching this world crumble and collapse before your eyes. The same way her world is crumbling and collapsing because of her actions, and she's leaning on the wrong things to try and build a sound and a happy and joyful life. To achieve what she wants, she's leaning into marriages for money, trying to get power, trying to get social status, trying to prioritize her comfort and you know, all of these things.
I just wanted to touch on, this is, I guess, more the philosophical idea of what you build a society on. I don't think we've learned that lesson today, because I still feel like we've got a form of that where we've maybe moved the slavery overseas and we've built a wealthy society based on the back of slavery. I guess it'd be nice to have a discussion if, for all our viewers, put your thoughts in the comments on, you know, what should we build a healthy society on, and how do you do it? I don't think we can potentially have this level of prosperity without, you know, the abuse and what am I trying to say?
Taking advantage of people.
Yeah.
What can't we see that we're not talking about? Because we have the most amount of slaves than we've ever had in history of all varieties, and no one wants to say anything about that. And their conditions, as far as we can tell, are probably on par with at least how these people would have kind of imagined the tragedy and the suffering. I can't watch 12 Years a Slave or any of those sorts of things. It's just too awful to imagine. And yet we don't seem to care. No one cares about it. Yeah. And they're in buildings collapsing in Bangladesh filled with kids. I'm not just pulling words out of the air. That really happens. Yeah. So that, you know, you can get your $4 shirts from large superstore. I'm not going to name or different things like that. Or we get our mobile. I mean, I know that some of the Foxconn stuff with Apple has been said that wasn't exactly right, you know, the suicide nets and all those different things. It gets pretty dark, you know, but we know the conditions are really bad in places like that are named after large forests in South America. Yep. You know, so why can we condemn a movie from 1939 that ultimately I think is condemning itself and yet not examine our current situation? Feels like every romantic comedy now where any character throws on anything from any superstore or whatever should immediately have the same connotations as the entirety of Gone with the Wind. Yeah. How does it not? Except that maybe that character in that modern rom-com is probably likable and might change, but probably doesn't turn in as good a performance as Vivien Leigh. Yeah, I
still debate whether it was a great performance, but yeah, it was. It had moments, I think.
She is boppy in a sort of demonic way.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I love the dresses. I'm not really big. I don't wear dresses, but these dresses were beautiful. Whoever designed these clothes needs. It's a 5-star movie in the clothing department.
The first time I watched the movie, I had no idea what it was about, other than I heard it was an amazing and extraordinary movie, and then I just felt like I got slapped in the face from the start because I didn't know about all the issues that it covers around slavery. And I think that affected my viewing experience the first time. And the second time I was able to sort of watch it and sort of enjoy various moments of the acting or the scenery or the way it was shot.
Yeah.
So, which was good. So, but I think you're right about using these as a tool to educate future generations of sort of, we were once in this place and, you know, why did we think that way? I don't see the benefit in, you know, just cancelling and getting rid of it and saying people can't watch it.
I totally agree. Okay, do we think people should watch this movie? Who should watch it? Do we think anyone should watch it?
I think it should be used for educational purposes. I think potentially kids in school, sort of maybe late teens, should watch it.
That's a good idea.
Have a debate, discuss it. I think that's probably where it's better suited. I can't imagine many people watching it today for pleasure.
No, I can't either.
So
I can if you really wanted to watch an old movie and you like old movies that are really like sweeping epics, then I genuinely think you'll enjoy this movie because it is beautiful. Its costumes are fantastic. Its performances are pretty great, I think, across the board. I'm not going to say they're the same as a Godfather level of performances, or at least realism, stuff we're used to. You might struggle with the fact that Scarlett O'Hara is just despicable, but you might also enjoy it because I don't read some of those books that they have on the shelves, the Jodi Picoult things and all. I don't know what's in those books, but they seem like they're all sad stories about sad characters. I could be wrong. Yeah. So if you're into that sort of thing, I think there is a lot to be enjoyed about this movie. Like just from an enjoyment perspective, the duration might make it a struggle, but if you
watch it in two halves
or something. But if you really want to see it, I think this is a really wanna situation.
Really?
If you're like, I want to say I saw it, watch it properly all the way through, and then say you saw it, and then never watch it again if you don't want to. Because I think that's what it is almost for me. I really did enjoy the first half. I thought it was really good, but I think. Are we going to give it what?
So it's out of 5 bitch slaps.
Out of 5 bitch slaps.
Because
out of 5 hooching on a slap.
Scarlett O'Hara tends to resolve a lot of conflict by slapping.
And she's a bitch. I don't like using that, but that is true. She really is.
I just think it's the best way to resolve conflict.
Yeah.
I do it at home all the time.
Yeah, a little domestic violence joke to cap off the slavery conversation. It gets it's such a difficult one to rate. From everything other than a purely rewatchable. Rewatchability is a 0 star. It's not super rewatchable. I'm going to say for me, I don't think it's very accessible in terms of duration. I think that's really difficult. We're just our society and our culture and our lifestyle doesn't allow for it to be as accessible.
Yeah.
On a purely enjoyment level, I think you'd have to go with aesthetics, story, and characters. It's 3 different ratings. I can't give this movie 1.
Give 1. You've got to compile it all together.
Oh, I got to compile it. I can't. It feels bad to give it like anything in the 3s.
Yeah, I'm leaning 1 or 2.
Oh, I was gonna go like 3.5 to 4.5.
You can't have half a bitch slap.
Yeah, you really can't have half a bitch slap, can you?
No.
I'm gonna give it this is really excruciating because it's so beautiful throughout the entire movie, and I hated what she did.
The first time I watched it, I would have said 0 to 1, but now I'll give it a 2 after rewatching it.
3 stars, 3.5, 4.
Oh,
4 star, 4 bitch slaps.
I can bitch slap you.
Yeah, I think I have to.
Really?
Because I okay. So this is my theory on rating movies that we're getting to and towards the end of episode 7, 11. What do we land on? I feel like I can only really judge a movie against what the movie is trying to be when it was trying to do it.
It was trying to be a terrible movie.
Yeah. But you think, like someone might, we watched this really good movie the other night. I really enjoyed it. Okay. So I gave Gone with the Wind, 3.5, 4 stars or something. It was bitch slaps. And we watched Shotgun Wedding with Jennifer Lopez.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just some romantic comedy and it was pretty stupid and stuff. But it was fantastic. I'd give that movie 4 stars. Because in 2023, when it came out, it was just trying to be a silly romantic comedy with a bit of shoot 'em up stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And it hit the bullseye on that. It was exactly what it was. So I'm really only giving it a rating based on whether I like that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if it was trying to be that, then and it failed, and then you're starting to get into the territory of The Room, things that are trying to be something and just really quite aren't. They're truly bad movies.
Yeah.
So this was trying to be a historical, like a period drama epic based on a book with all. I feel like it knocked out the park with all those things. I can't rate it against it. It's just that I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the circumstances, but I don't need a movie to tell me I don't like slavery and all those things. Yeah. I kind of feel like I have to give it something like 3.5 to 4 stars. And I have to contextualize it by saying, if you don't like this sort of thing, this is why these AFI lists, which is what this podcast has really birthed out of.
Yeah.
Is that we're working our way through the AFI Top 100, and this is movie number 4. We should have said that about 45 minutes ago. Yeah, and this is what we're doing by now.
Yeah.
They're the list. There's no way you cannot have a top 100 movies of all time. It's really about these movies are just what their influence on culture and history and society are. Screens are just gone to sleep, so we've lost our background. I think they know the podcast is over.
I feel this story fell short. Like, I think you could tell a very similar story, but have some redemption and hope and goodness coming out of it.
But then you'd be redeeming the South, wouldn't you?
But life is more complicated. Like, as you said, not everyone down there would be the same sort of character. Like, surely
you'd have to shrink it back and say this isn't
redemptive moment.
Yeah, you would. They're trying to say this life that she was living in the South in Tara represents the South, and she represents the Southern Belle, and her journey represents the journey of the South in a sense. Now, I don't know if people are analyzing it like that and thinking that, but if you did that at the upset, you cannot have any redemption for her in the end. You have to have some delusion. She has to go where she goes. And I kind of disappointed in myself that I didn't realize that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, and they just made it long and painful to really...
hit it home. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if there's allegory in The Three Husbands or anything. There might be stuff in there I don't know about, but maybe people in 1939, they were on the cusp of World War II. They just had World War I. People were, the washing machine, had that been invented in 1939? There's no home television. There's no Wi-Fi, no cruise control or even power steering.
Yep.
Or, these people, I'm not saying they were harder and everything than us, but they just had a greater comfort with suffering, I guess, than we have now. It's like our priority in life is to avoid suffering. Like, what's our number one priority? It's not like to seek out the purpose of life and happiness. It's like all suffering must be outlawed. Yeah. You have to, even if you have to pretend you're not suffering, do it, Yeah. Whereas this movie is kind of, it butts its head up against that today's society.
There you go. So 4 stars.
Yeah, I'm going with 4 bitch slaps.
All right. 4 bitch slaps.
Yeah, I have 4 bitch slaps. But a 0 on accessibility and rewatchability.
Yeah.
And character. I even though I said what I just said, I still don't like the character, which is why I'm not going to watch this again, I don't think.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, we could talk forever. I think we've got to wrap this up though, don't we, Nicholas?
We do.
Our listeners have turned it off ages ago. My fault.
They were watching to begin with.
That nasal guy whines all the time.
Thank you very much for watching. And next week we're doing number 5, which is Lawrence of Arabia, which is another long one. Is it 4 hours or is it?
No, I don't think it's quite as long as this, but there is an intermission. But this will be 1960 something.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be a great movie.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Lawrence of Arabia. We're going to have a fun discussion. Yeah, we'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching the Video Lineup Podcast.
Take care.